When the sun comes up on America, across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
All right, let's kick off another brand new day here on Daybreak. Glad to have you on board. A lot to cover today as we work through the biggest stories of the day. Three big things this hour. Number one, not a good sign for interest rates in the economy as the 30-year Treasury bonds have now topped 5.31%, and that may impact you on your borrowing going forward. Number two, has your car and therefore you been logged and tracked by the Flock camera system in the surveillance state of 2026? Well, there is a website where you might be able to find out. I'll have it for you coming up in a little bit. And number three, the Democratic Socialists of America Party platform is growing more popular by the day, and at the same time, it's growing more extreme. The ideas keep escalating. More risk redistribution of your money, more central control, even softer approaches to crime, open-ended government guarantees that ignore basic economics, and a permanent posture of grievance. Victims, victims, victims. What started as calls for Medicare for all and a Green New Deal has expanded into a full worldview that treats private enterprise, personal responsibility, and national borders as problems we managed away to get rid of. The popularity is measurable, in fact. Recent polling shows a clear majority of Democrats now hold a more positive view of socialism than capitalism. 58% for socialism, 32% for capitalism. The gap is not small. It reflects a cultural shift inside the party, especially among younger, college-educated voters. The same surveys show that when the broader American public is asked, capitalism and free markets still come out ahead. But inside the Democratic coalition, the numbers have dramatically flipped. This is the new baseline. Candidates who once ran as moderates now feel pressured to adopt the language and the priorities of the socialist wing, or being primaried out of the party altogether. That's the risk they run. That polling should concern anyone who values results over rhetoric. It tells us the DSA vision is no longer confined to activist circles. It's shaping how a large share of one major party thinks about the economy, crime, housing, and the role of government in this country. And the more popular it becomes inside that party, the more radical the demands grow. Look at who's driving much of the enthusiasm. It is not primarily blue-collar workers in a revolt. A significant portion, if not the majority, the vast majority, the strongest support comes from people with expensive college degrees who are carrying heavy debt and feel the system did not deliver the life they were promised. That's what Mike Rowe noticed, and here's what he said.
I don't really have a dog in the big socialism hunt specifically, but I've got one in workforce. And when I look at 400,000 or 500,000 open jobs, and then I look at those 7 million able-bodied men not even looking at the jobs at all, and then I look at this whole conversation unspooling, I don't know if you saw this, but the stat that got me, within the Democratic Party right now, 59% of Democrats who support socialism have college degrees. 40% who support socialism don't. So this thing that's being called a worker uprising, it's really not.
No.
It's not. This is happening because a lot of people with a really expensive credential are in the hole in a big way, and they're pissed.
Oh, they're pissed. The anger is real. Economic pressure is real. But channeling that anger into an ideology that has repeatedly produced scarcity and dependency is a dangerous mistake. This is less a pure uprising of the working class and more a reaction from a credentialed group that is frustrated and looking for someone else to blame. And they want to spread that misery out. Equitable misery, if you will. Many of these young adult students will nod along to the idea of equal outcomes in the abstract. It feels fair. It feels kind. And then someone suggests applying that identical principle to their own grades, for example. Everyone receives the same mark regardless of effort or work and ability. And suddenly that enthusiasm evaporates. Here it is.
Rather have in America, socialism or capitalism?
I would say socialism.
How do you view the word socialism, favorably or unfavorably?
I guess I would go with favorably.
Like, I have family in Europe. They go to college for free. Their healthcare is paid for. They don't have to worry about it at all.
I favor that over capitalism.
Okay, got it.
I also think I favor that, like, socialism over capitalism.
Socialism is more geared toward like helping the people in your, the governed.
I'd rather people have that same opportunity. There's a lot of excess in America.
So on campus, if there's a GPA disparity where there's people at the bottom with a poor GPA, would you support a policy where people at the top spread the wealth and give that GPA to people at the bottom?
Help them get a better GPA.
Yeah.
I'm all for helping. I wouldn't give let me just give you some of my points.
But it's about being fair, right? We got to help people at the bottom.
I've lost a lot of sleep, so I don't know if I will be fair. That's completely different.
How is it different?
Because I'm studying all day for my grade.
I mean, I sacrifice a lot to get my GPA. I don't go out as much as I'd like to, but that's for a greater goal in the future, the way I see it. So no, I wouldn't sacrifice my own things, sacrifice my own time to help somebody else who didn't want to make those same sacrifices.
Oh, suddenly the value of hard work becomes obvious. The principle only feels righteous when it's applied to someone else's earnings, someone else's property, or someone else's neighborhood. That hypocrisy is not a side note. It is the heart of the problem, because guess what? Your 4.0 GPA won't matter if everyone is being given the same outcome at the end anyway. The DSA platform sells equal outcomes as moral progress. In practice, it treats earned differences as evidence of injustice that must be corrected by force of law and bureaucracy. But in actuality, it just deprives anyone of any opportunity to make their life better. Influential voices in and around the DSA orbit have gone so far as to praise figures whose records include mass death and totalitarian control simply because they did so in the name of equity. Here's the Democrat leader, Hassan Piker. Listen.
Mao Zedong is one of the great leaders of this world, okay? A man who changed the entire universe, the entire planet. He did. He changed the trajectory of history. He is the founding father of the People's Republic of China. Mao Zedong gets the same level of credit that the founding fathers do for America. It's literally the same thing as me saying George Washington is a great man of history and is a profoundly impactful, profoundly important person. The American Revolution is a progressive historical event overall, all things considered. And of course, they were also slavers. If you apply that same principle consistently to Mao Zedong, everybody in the Western world loses their minds, where it's like, well, Mao Zedong, unlike George Washington, did not own slaves, okay? And George Washington didn't cause the deaths of 100 million of his countrymen, or a comparable number. Praising leaders responsible for catastrophic human costs while downplaying or ignoring those costs, it's not edgy. It's a warning sign. It's not limited to online streamers either. It's happening in elected office. We're going to talk more about that coming up after the break. Nice to see you today. This is Daybreak. The threat of the DSA is real. Primaries today in Florida might find more DSA members tossing out long-serving members of the Democrat Party. More problems for the Democrats after the break on Daybreak.
All right, so elected officials in progressive strongholds now floating ideas that treat theft of basic goods as understandable and a need rather than crime that harms the community. So crimes of desperation are okay now. Listen to this.
Most of what we saw were crimes of poverty. People who were stealing things like toothpaste, people who were stealing things like, soap. And that means if you're stealing those things, you need them.
Advocates believe that shoplifting or bringing bags of trash onto the trains or sleeping in the subway should not be criminally prosecuted. Neither should graffiti vandalism and public urination, even ferry vandalism.
All right, so that's Emily Gallagher, a New York assemblywoman who will make New York City more than a hellhole, and it already is with ideas like that. The language is soft, crimes of poverty, unmet needs, but the practical effect is to erode the basic rule that people simply can't take what they want. Retailers leave, neighborhoods decay, working families who cannot afford private security or relocation pay the price. The so-called compassion is directed toward the offender. The misery is distributed to everyone else. Step back and the pattern becomes clear. What the DSA is truly selling is not shared prosperity. It is equal misery under the banner of compassion. The marketing uses warm words: care, equity, solidarity, justice. The product is the leveling of outcomes by expanding state control, punishing productive activity, and creating permanent client groups dependent on political favor and, of course, being a victim. Shortages are reframed as proof that more control is needed. Declining standards are blamed on the remaining pockets of freedom. The solution is always the same: more power for the planners, more power for the government. History's run this experiment many times. When leaders from systems that promised equality of result finally saw the abundance produced by markets and private initiative, the contrast was overwhelming. Empty shelves and rationing on one side, choice and plenty on the other. It's written in history. Listen to this.
Nothing will make someone hate socialism more than trying to go to a government-run grocery store. In 1989, Boris Yeltsin comes over to the U.S. This is when, the U.S. and the USSR were starting to become... It was thawing. He comes over to visit Texas. He goes to NASA. He sees our technology there. And then he goes to a Texas grocery store. And Boris Yeltsin walked away. The Houston Chronicle said he was dazzled by the Jell-O pudding pops and things that, seriously, in the store. And he went back to the Soviet Union and was like, guys, we've got it all wrong. And that was it. That was the end of the Cold War.
We just had all the soccer tourists do the same thing. They lost their shit in the grocery aisles of the American supermarket.
This is a solved problem. And look,
exactly.
I get it. So the affordability of groceries, right problem to tackle, wrong solution. We actually have solutions in that you have grocery stores like Aldi, like Lidl, that are aimed at sort of getting discount food in people's hands. Create the economic conditions where an Aldi or a Lidl wants to open up shop in your town rather than government deciding it's going to get into the grocery store running business.
Systems that suppress the price mechanism, private ownership, and the right to keep what you earn tend to equalize downward. They do not abolish hardship. They spread it more evenly while concentrating political power. That lesson has been available for decades. Real Americans absorbed it. So did serious Democrats of an earlier generation. John F. Kennedy understood the stakes of the struggle between free societies and systems that subordinated the individual to the collective. He spoke in stark terms about the threats to liberty and the importance of vigilance. He did not treat American economic freedom as the problem. He treated it as a strength worth defending every single day. Listen to the 35th president.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
We have been infiltrated by that ruthless conspiracy. It's been revealed as the DSA and the party that used to hail JFK as its leader, now making room for these socialists in their so-called big tent. But it will be the end of a moderate party. And if they succeed in securing leadership, it will be the end of America. We've seen it in Europe. The nations that open their borders in the name of the diversity have fallen. Nations that still prioritize the safety and continuity of its own citizens, that refuse to treat open borders as a moral absolute, and that keep basic order as a non-negotiable duty are few and far between. Poland is one of them. Poland is one of them. We'll keep an eye on Poland as we continue through this week. Poland says no, its Muslim population is 0.1%, and they say no, you cannot come in. They passed a law allowing the border guards to use live ammunition. They're not playing. They are not playing. We'll keep an eye on all that, and that's the monologue. Did you know that over 90% of Americans don't get enough essential vitamins and minerals from food alone? Some research suggests natural vitamins may be superior to synthetic ones. Longevity. It's a great source of over 20 natural vitamins and minerals from real food sources, not synthetic. Longevity is a complete nutritional support that gives you everything you need to age well. We use it in this house. It's football season. Heck, it's life. LongevityWellness.co. Go there. Enter the promo code Gruber at checkout. You'll get a special discount. Longevity Wellness, our sponsor for this hour. LongevityWellness.co. Find out what we use it here. Ivy uses it. I use it. The kid playing football uses it. The girl going to the gym every day uses it. LongevityWellness.co. Promo code Gruber. You'll be glad you did. Back after this. Here's a story that just broke, and I'm concerned about why this is, all right? The FBI releasing its crime statistics. 2025 had the biggest, by far the biggest, drop in violent crime in 90 years. 90 years. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter dropping 18.1%. Robbery fell 18.5%. Rape is down 7.6%. Property crimes declined too, 12.4%. Motor vehicle theft leading the way, 22.7% drop. It's unusually broad, touching every population, and that's why I find it a bit suspect just reading through it, all right? Because it makes me wonder if police departments in big blue cities are actually reporting crimes to the FBI database. Makes me wonder. On the other hand, it makes it awfully hard to argue in favor of gun control now, doesn't it? I mean, there are more guns today, more guns sold every year. Crime is down, and the biggest drop in 90 years. How do you argue against that on the blue team? It says here, that 17,000 plus law enforcement agencies submitted 2025 data covering more than 96% of the U.S. population. Every city agency serving at least 1 million residents submitted a full 12 months, but you wonder if they're reporting properly in their cities. We'll keep an eye on it. President Trump taking credit for it, for work like he did in the nation's capital. Now, if you deal with knee pain, joint pain, or stiffness, especially when you're driving or sitting for long stretches, you can't take a medical bed with you, but you can take the QE red light therapy wand and put it right in your glove box. Handheld device uses red and infrared light combined with proprietary quantum energy technology to target pain right where it hurts. No pills, no appointments. It's simple, targeted relief you can use anytime, and it's wonderful how portable it is. You can find this at ExodusStrong.com along with a whole host of other great products. It's less than $100. The QE wand, under $100. ExodusStrong.com. Promo code's Gruber, and they're a great partner of this program. ExodusStrong.com, promo code Gruber. I'll be right back. All right, back at it today. Glad to have you on board as we continue here on Daybreak. I want to broach a subject here that might be a little bit dry, but it's incredibly important. And I am amazed the number of people that I talk to that don't have a will or a plan or anything for the future. Nothing. They just like, if I die, just throw it into the wind and good luck to everybody. David and Stephen Kallman at Kallman Legal Group do a lot of great work to protect people constitutionally for free speech and freedom of religion, but they also understand the importance of estate planning. They're both with me today. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good to have you here. All right, David, let me start with you. You've done this a bit longer than your son. How many people do you meet that are 50, 60, even 70 or don't have a will, don't have a trust, don't have a plan at all? How common is this?
It's real common, Steve, and it's the kind of thing that it's human nature. You don't want to think about your demise, what's going to happen when you pass and your kids are left or other relatives to try to sort through your estate. We just don't like to deal with those kinds of issues, and it's understandable. But, we are able to help a lot of people, talk it through with them, make it easy for them, and help them realize that not everybody needs a real elaborate estate with all kinds of trusts and, ladybird deeds or all that sort of thing, but maybe you do need something like that. And what you do need, we're able to help you with and talk you through it.
All right, Stephen, let's start with you. What are some of the basics? Just give me the nuts and bolts here, because as your dad just said, you don't have to have something fancy with different columns and so forth. It can be basic, but it has to be something. Otherwise, it goes into probate. And if it goes into probate, that chews up your assets and the people that you might want to have receive your financial, gains over life, being kids, grandkids, charities, whatever it might be, gets eaten up in the court system with costs. So give me some of the basics. Where do we need to start?
Yeah, it's funny how many people I meet with, and after we're done and we're wrapping up the meeting, they'll say, wow, that wasn't that bad. That was a lot less scary than we thought it would be. Yeah. But there are three primary documents, three foundational documents that we encourage everyone to have at a minimum. And that's a medical power of attorney, a financial power of attorney, and a will. And the powers of attorney, a lot of people don't understand that they only operate during your lifetime. And that's where you can pick someone ahead of time to make financial or medical decisions for you while you're alive. But then, as you said, you also have the will, which handles everything after you pass. And one of the most important things about the will is who decides. Should you decide where your stuff goes? Who manages everything? Who's going to handle your estate? Or do you want the government to decide? And if you don't have a will, the government's going to decide for you. And our preference is that the person, you, should always decide.
So explain the power of attorney mechanism, if you would, please, Stephen, because I think sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to give up control either. People like control of things. But if you have some medical emergency, you're in a hospital bed, you're not responsive, it's dark. To be honest, look, like your father said, you're looking at your own demise here. And if nobody has the ability to make a call, you could just lay there, I guess, kind of in limbo, right?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is that if you don't have a power of attorney, you're really only left with your family and friends' only option is to go to court and get a guardianship or a conservatorship. And no one wants to have to go to court and have that proceeding and have a full investigation and court hearings, have doctors testify and all the stuff that goes into guardianships and conservatorships. And then even after you get it, the file stays open and the court keeps tabs on everything and has accountings and investigations and all that stuff. And that you want to avoid all of that cost and headache. And the best way and primary way to do that is to have a power of attorney that you set up ahead of time. And then, as I said earlier, with the will, who decides? Well, same thing with the medical power of attorney. If something happens to you and you don't have anything prepared, a judge is going to decide who makes decisions for you. But if you have a medical power of attorney, you decide who makes decisions for you. And again, we just always prefer that you decide what happens to you and your well-being and your stuff.
Yeah, and if you're unable to look out for yourself, the same thing applies to your money. Who pays your bills? Who pays your mortgage? Who makes sure the property tax is covered? Your dog is looked after? Whatever it might be, right?
That's right, and that's what the financial power of attorney is for. And then that also leads into other discussions that we have with people where if they have other preferences or other issues, or they have minor children or maybe special needs children, maybe we do talk about having a trust. Maybe we do a revocable trust or an irrevocable trust or a special needs trust, depending on their circumstances. But that's where we custom tailor everything. That's where we sit down with each person. Everyone's an individual. We talk through what their needs, what their preferences are, how they want to have things done. and then we customize the plan to them.
Yeah,
And so
custom
there are all
plan.
sorts of documents that we can do, and but everyone's plan is a little bit different.
You know, I'm going to give kudos to my father. He died 20 years ago, but he had a plan in place, had 3 children, share and share alike, the will said. Anybody challenges the will, you're out. And he did leave money for his dogs to make sure they were looked after and there was dog food provided for and so on and so forth. People do these sorts of things. David, I mean, you laugh, but everybody's needs are different, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of ways to do things to stay out of probate, Steve, which is very important. Again, you don't want the government deciding or some judge who knows nothing about your family and here's a 15-minute hearing and then decides who's doing what. There are ladybird deeds that you can do to pass real estate. There are all sorts of things that a family can do to be prepared and to make sure that everything is happening the way you want it. And that's what we emphasize.
I want to ask you about that ladybird deed. So property passes. This is an important consideration because if you buy a house, the property tax will follow the new sale price. If a deed passes to an heir, you don't get suddenly crippled with a new property tax increase, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Yeah, ladybird deeds are a relatively new tool in our toolbox in the last 10 years that we've been able to start using. And that was because prior to ladybird deeds, the only real way you could transfer property to heirs was either through a trust or through probate. And those aren't 2 great options. But now with the ladybird deed, we can make this new deed, record it, and then when you pass away, all your children or whoever you're giving your property to, all they have to do is take your death certificate and go record it at the county for $30. And then they instantly own your property. No probate needed, no court hearing needed, no trust needed, no administration. It's just automatic. And then, as you said, there are major tax implications that can help too, where they get a step-up basis because of that. So ladybird deeds are a great new tool that we can use to stay out of probate and make it a lot easier for your kids.
Never even heard of them. All right, gentlemen, if somebody's interested in, I mean, the advice here is talk to a professional, talk to an attorney. It's a lot easier than you think. You need to have something in place. It can be very basic. It can be 1 page. It could be 100 pages, depending on how complicated you want to make it, right? How do they find you guys if they want to ask you a couple more questions?
Easiest way is to go to our website, and that's Kallman Legal, Kallman legal.com.
KallmanLegal.com. David, Stephen, I think it's just good common sense advice. You know, take care of it. Clean that up before you head on down the road. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Good to be with you.
Thank you. Ladybird deeds, never even heard of it. So I learned something here today, too. Got to have a good will. Got to have a good plan. You've got to. Otherwise, boom, the government will just, oh, they like it. They'll just eat it all up. I'll be back after this. All right, back to it now. I want to spend some time on Dearborn, Michigan here. Apparently tonight, at least all the chatter on social media, a lot of videos out there, but I don't know if it's true, that bikers have headed from Sturgis, South Dakota to Dearborn, Michigan for an anti-Islam, pro-Christian rally tonight. So big, in fact, they've moved it to the Henry Ford Library, I believe, in that town. So there's this planned rally, but we've heard this in years past following Sturgis, and basically nobody showed up. This one seems different, I'll be honest. Let me get Ivy in here. She's in a bit early today. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so we've heard this for years. Oh, this is going to be the big year. They're coming to Dearborn. Never happened, but it's been ginned up a lot more this year. The chief of police and the mayor saying, do not come here. Do not come cause problems. But I want to focus on this part of it. I know we all were deeply affected by the assassination of Charlie Kirk almost a year ago now.
Yeah.
And I know it impacted you a lot. And I wanted to share this morning some words from Charlie Kirk about Islam not being compatible with the American system. Listen to this.
You're a Christian, and I guess my kind of concerns is like Islamophobia.
Are you Muslim?
Yes, I am.
What is the best model for a Muslim country in your view?
I guess, like...
Do you enjoy not having to cover yourself in public?
Yeah, I guess.
So that you don't like Islam very much then, because majority of Islamic countries would require you to have full garb in public.
That's not fair to say that.
You literally could not dress like this in the streets of Riyadh as a woman. This is way too provocative, way too much skin. You as a woman, you don't have freedom of speech, you can't run for public office, you can't own property. Islam is against Western values, it's incompatible with Western values, and we in the West actually think you should have the rights that you have right now to speak and to be able to show, the skin you show here and, be able to have a happy...
So he was a warrior, saying that Islam is incompatible with Western values, which it is. And in fact, Sharia law is in direct conflict with the American Constitution I hold in my hand.
That's right. Well, for this particular religion, they see their religion as their law, as everything that guides their life. So even above our laws are their laws.
And it's not just a religion, it's a form of government.
That's right.
And he was right. She couldn't dress that way. And I saw another conversation, I think it was Bill Maher on his podcast, talking to another leftist, saying, well, which Middle Eastern city would you prefer to live in? Is it Istanbul? Is it Riyadh? And he went through the list. You couldn't live in any of those places like you live here.
Right.
As a woman.
Oh, it's really confusing to me how in the last several years it seems that the pro-women's rights, the LGBTQ group, and the pro-Palestinians and the pro-Islam have all come together and to unify.
Got on the same wagon.
And what is really bizarre about that is that Islam, would, I think in certain parts of the world, would throw gay people off of buildings.
Or hang them.
Or hang them.
Or stone them
to death.
Right.
So but this is what happened also in Iran, is it not?
It is.
Where the radical left came in with the Islamists, and they banded together to take control, and then they destroyed all of the...
Well, Islam destroyed the radical left. I mean,
That's
you
right.
see these people at protests. Queers for Palestine. Right. I'm sorry, can you read? Honestly, it's a serious way. Can you read?
They're not compatible with one another, and as we've said, and as Charlie Kirk said there, they have their own government system. They have their own laws, and so how can that possibly be compatible with Western?
It can't be. I just saw a note from Austria, in the heart of Europe, is allowing Sharia law for private matters. If both sides agree that Sharia law should be used in this private matter, then they can do that.
So they set their own laws aside, and then they use those?
So here's the problem with that. Once you allow it here, then they'll take the next step to here, to here, to here.
Right.
Sharia law is not compatible with Western law and order, with Western beliefs, with Western liberty, to be quite honest. I don't know what's going to happen in Dearborn tonight. I know there's some people there that want to get clicks and agitate, but I think there could be. If these bikers show up, I think it would be fascinating. I'm going to go down there, not as an agitator, just to document. I'll be there just to document what I see, if anything. And I don't know yet what we're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're really thrilled about that.
Not really. But.
Not really. Well, I mean.
You can go any other time. Go check it out and see what's going on and document.
Yeah, Ivy's way down on this, by the way. But I feel it's my obligation, and I'm going to do it. Because I don't want to do it for clicks. I don't want to do it for anything else. I want to see what happens. Mm-hmm. Will American Christians rise up and say no? I mean, we've been talking about Poland here for a bit. Mm-hmm. And Poland says absolutely not. Nobody gets in. Poland has sealed its borders with Belarus. These people are at the border throwing rocks and sticks and trying to get in, and they're being blown back by water cannons and rubber bullets. But now in Poland, they said they just passed a law here. They can use live rounds. If you come into Poland and you break the law and you break into their country, they can shoot you on the spot, just like the Mexicans can do with the Guatemalans that come over the border illegally if they so choose. It's there's a correction happening, I believe, in some places. But
yeah. I did see one of the, I think it was the heads of state. I couldn't tell you who it was, but he came into one of the Polish buildings that he was in, and there was an EU flag. And he tore it down and he started stomping at it. He's like, "We are not
the
this.
EU.
We're not the EU. We are Poland. And
Poleska.
We are, the Polish people.
We are Poleska. I think that's how they say it. I don't speak Polish, but I would love to go see it in person and see what they're doing there. Ivy, an early engagement here on the program today. Looking spectacular, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you.
All right, what do you think? What's going to happen in Dearborn? Any idea? I don't really know. I've heard these stories for years. Never materializes, but somehow this feels different. I'll keep you up to date on all of it. All right, I promised you a website, so here it is. And I appreciate your concern, by the way, in the chat sessions here. Stay home. No, I think we need to go. I can't sit on the sidelines and wonder what's happening. I need to go to Dearborn. I'm going to go. Maybe Anthony will ride along and be my muscle. We'll find out. But I promised you a website on flock cameras. Another one of my things here. Look, any politician that wants to win in the midterm should come out today and stand against flock cameras in this surveillance state of America. I get it in some places, maybe. Washington, D.C., New York City, I get that. It is a crime tool. But on back roads, at the shooting range, outside a weed store, no, I don't get that. Outside a bar, I don't get that. And I don't accept it. So there's a website now, HaveIBeenFlocked.com. HaveIBeenFlocked.com. You can go to this website, put in your license plate, which maybe just exposes you to God only knows what. But you can put in your license plate, and you can find out whether you're in that system. Now, this is not a complete breakdown of all the flock cameras, but it's a pretty big database. And it's there for you to find out. Have I been flocked? You put in your... by the way, I put in my license plate, and it did not show me. I don't know. You can check it out. And when you do, send me an email at stevegruber.com. Boy, I have slept great for the last couple of days. I feel like $1 million. I do. The Ghost bed is killing it for me. It really is. This American-made bed is wonderful. They've got new systems. They've got a new invention, a couple of them. One where the bed will tilt to a certain degree until you stop snoring to change your position. And then they've got this new mattress cover, liquid-filled mattress cover that can get as cool as 60 degrees or as warm as 110 degrees. You'll save on your heating and cooling bills and sleep better. That's coming out in October, but you can pre-order it now. Anyhow, find out more about Ghost Bed. It's an American-made system. You can try it for 101 days. If you truly don't like it, call them up and say, I don't want it, come pick it up, and they will. Ghostbed.com, promo code Gruber. Great partner with us here on the program. Ghostbed.com, promo code Gruber.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
And welcome to Glad to have you here as we kick off another brand new hour of the program, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom as we do every single day. Going a little bit of a different direction to start this hour because I have a special guest. Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum, the 55th Secretary of the U.S. Department of the Interior, is with me now. Mr. Secretary, good morning.
Morning, Steve. Great to be with you.
Glad to have you, sir. All right, so you're making a visit to my home state of Michigan, and this is part of your promotional tour, I guess, to say, look, America has the greatest national parks in the world, and you're saying it because, well, it's true. Tell me about your visit. Tell me about these national parks in 2026.
Well, Steve, of course, it's fantastic to be here in Michigan, and Michigan, like all of our states, has got so much incredible and beautiful outdoor space here in the state of Michigan. But I'm also here today. I've got two jobs. A lot of people in this administration have two jobs. I've got two, Secretary of Interior, but also Chairman of the National Energy Dominance Council. And one of the big reasons we're here today is back last winter when we had an Indo-Pacific Energy Forum, we got all of our allies in the Pacific together and said, hey, you guys should be buying energy from us and you should be investing in America. One of the deals we signed at that conference in Japan was with the Korean company LG, and we're going to be at a battery signing, as they call it today, a big LG battery signing. But this is part of President Trump bringing jobs back to America, bringing foreign investment back to America, and bringing lower energy and more secure energy back to America. So we're excited to tell that story while we're here today.
Yeah, energy dominance, a big cornerstone of this administration with Secretary Chris Wright over at Energy, you at the Interior. And you bring me right straight to this question because there's a lot of pushback these days on windmills and solar fields because for some reason, some people on the left think it's appropriate to bulldoze farm fields or forests and put in solar panels. I think it's a terrible pursuit. I don't think it's good for the environment. It's not good for farmers. Where are we in that conversation? Because we know that natural gas and oil and coal and energy-dense sources are better than wind or solar. Now, they might have a place, but why would we bulldoze a forest or a farm field?
Well, Steve, you're right. The key word in there is energy density because we have America. We are just blessed with so much abundant resources, and a lot of that is, owned by the public. So, again, because it's on federal land, Bureau of Land Management land. The Interior, we manage 500 million acres of 500 million, only about 10% of that is national parks. The rest of this was put away for the benefit and use of the American people and the resources that you listed that we have, which is reliable, secure, affordable American energy. Like I said, we're blessed. We've got lower energy prices than any country in the world. And now we have a situation where during the last administration, they kept talking about having an energy transition. When we transitioned away from 7 by 24 reliable dispatchable electricity to intermittent weather dependent, literally dependent on whether the sun was shining or the wind was blowing, sources of energy, often foreign sourced from manufacturers like from the EU or from China for the solar panels and the wind content. When we were doing that, it wasn't energy transition, it was energy subtraction. We ended up with less. If the sun wasn't shining and the wind wasn't blowing, we had less power. And that's what's driven prices up in some states across America, was because they transitioned, they sold it as a transition. It was going to be cheaper. It was more expensive, and it was energy subtraction. And what President Trump believes in is energy addition. And with energy addition means we've got more supply, we're going to have lower prices, it's going to be more reliable. And even right here in Michigan last year, again, working with Chris Wright, our great Secretary of Energy, friend of mine for the last 20 years, we helped keep the power and the lights on. If they'd have kept going on this path of energy transition, there would have been big swaths of the Midwest, including Michigan, that would have been out of power last year during those winter storms on those peak cold days.
Absolutely true. I want to shift gears and focus on the nation's capital for a minute because the FBI released its statistics. Biggest violent crime drop in 90 years, but I'm still thinking about the World War II memorial being defaced. You're in charge of these parks and these memorials as Secretary of the Interior. But crime in America, Mr. Secretary, is down. Biggest drop in 90 years, if you trust the numbers. And that's a pretty remarkable turnaround, including the National Guard in the nation's capital to keep the place clean and safe. What are your thoughts?
Well, President Trump set the pace on this with his executive order last year to make D.C. safe and beautiful. And it's just a common sense thing when you say, hey, if we've got the greatest country in the world, shouldn't we, as we approach our 250th year of celebration, shouldn't we have the cleanest, most beautiful, and safest capital in the world? And there's so many things about D.C. that are beautiful, but you take a look when we took office, just over 18 months ago, you'd walk out of Union Station into homeless encampment surrounded by protests, surrounded by graffiti, and it was like some dystopian world going on. And you walk out of that today, and what you see is completely restored Columbus Circle. You see a fountain that has got Carrara marble, just like the Trevi Fountain in Rome. And people are like, where did this come from? Well, it had been there since 1912, but it had been completely run down. So you take from one end of the mall, the other, and across under President Trump, 150 homeless encampments that are no longer there on public space. People can get back into the public parks. 1,000 graffiti sites gone, 22 fountains that were in total disrepair going again. The crime stats that you mentioned, monuments restored, statues rededicated. I mean, it is transformed. And what happens to that? Small businesses in retail and restaurants come back. People are safe on the streets. The visitors show up more. I mean,
right.
It's a blueprint for every American city to do what President Trump did. It wasn't, there was nothing more than the will and the leadership that drove that decision.
Let me ask you one more thing. I only have about a minute left here, Mr. Secretary, but I have to ask you about this. I'd be remiss if I did not ask you about data centers on public land in America and the pushback by the public against these data centers. Are we formulating a plan? Giant piece of real estate in Utah that was sold off for data centers, other citizens pushing back. Takes a tremendous amount of energy. Georgia says they don't have enough to power the data centers planned for that state, as an example. Your thoughts?
Well, we have to win the arms race with China, and there's a way we can do this. We did it in my home state. We built, when I was governor 2 years ago, we built a $1.2 million data center in a town of 800 people just outside of town. And we lowered their electric rates. They got tax base to be able to really enhance the whole school system. We increased the amount of water going into the system with water capture. So all of these issues can be solved with innovation that people are afraid of. And we also have to be just clear-minded. China is behind a lot of this, online, stuff that they're driving disruption in America to get us, because they know if we don't build the power and we don't build the data centers, we lose. We lose the economic battle. We'll lose any military battle. We have having more intelligence and having cheaper intelligence and having that to support whether it's education, healthcare, job transformation, greater quality of life, whatever it is, we need to do that, and we have to find a way to solve these concerns that people have locally.
We do.
And we have answers to all of them, whether it's the price of power, the water availability,
Mr. Secretary,
noise. We can solve every single one of those things.
Have to leave it there. Thank you, sir. Welcome back to the program. Nice to see you today. Look, I want to tell you a story here. An Indiana man just sentenced to 10 years in prison after using a forged property deed in an attempt to claim ownership of a home that was not his. Prosecutors say the case highlights the growing threat of property deed fraud and urging homeowners to sign up for fraud alert programs to protect their property. You know, you've got to do this, and if you don't, you could become the next story here. Joining me now is Tom Simon, spokesman for Home Title Lock, former FBI special agent, 26 years of experience investigating white-collar crime, counterterrorism, and national security matters. Tom, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on again.
All right, so this Indiana story, you don't hear this too often. They actually had laws in place to bust him, thankfully. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this story is absolutely bonkers. I know I've come here with a lot of crazy stories. I don't think anyone reaches the level of this guy. His name's Phoenix Heil, and his plan begins with something called a quitclaim deed, which is a document used to transfer ownership of a property from one person to another. Real estate we're talking here. So he creates a quitclaim deed that falsely identifies himself as the new owner of a property in Muncie, Indiana. Now, the document had forged signatures supposedly belonging to the legitimate property owners, and it was notarized falsely, but it gave the appearance of an authentic legal document. And so what Mr. Heil does is he submits it to the county recorder's office, who places it in the public property records website. Okay? Now, remember, simply recording the deed doesn't mean that the local government has independently verified the signature on it. In fact, their job is not to identify the underlying document or investigate it. It's just to record it in the public record. And so after this deed is recorded, Mr. Heil then goes to the property itself, carrying the paperwork, and tells the property owner that he is the new owner of this house. This now belongs to me, Mr. Heil says, and that he had placed the property for sale on the internet. Now, the rightful owners are freaked out by this, as you can imagine. They call the sheriff's department there in Muncie, who then interviews Mr. Heil. And he claims that he bought the property through the city, he said. But the records on file at the county clerk's office actually confirmed that Mr. Heil was the rightful owner of this property. Okay, so to their credit, the sheriff's department doesn't stop there. The investigators examined the deed, and they determined that it was fraudulent and forged and all that. And when they questioned Mr. Heil about the forged signatures, he said that he could not have written them because he didn't know how to write cursive.
You know, that the can't write cursive defense, that's a new one. But there was one other person here who was involved in the crime, and that is the person that notarized. The notary here notarized this and admitted the notary claimed Heil directed her to add the homeowner's name to the deed without their knowledge. That's also a crime, is it not?
It is, and not every notary is completely scrupulous. And now, you may or may not be shocked to learn that when the police arrest him, they find a plastic bag in his pocket.
A plastic bag in his pocket, Tom. Do tell.
Well, you'll be surprised to learn that the plastic bag in his pocket contained 2 grams of crystal methamphetamine.
Of course it did.
Yeah, and when the police asked him about it, his defense to that was, these aren't my pants. I borrowed them from someone else.
Let me see. I don't write cursive, and I'm wearing somebody else's pants. These are creative defenses. I'll give you that. Obviously, the police didn't buy this from Mr. Phoenix Heil, 27-year-old scoundrel with a drug problem who's trying to steal houses. And if not for the police, here's the problem, Tom. Too many jurisdictions, they wouldn't have done this. Too many jurisdictions would have said, look, that's a civil matter. That's the paperwork, and they just go there. There's not enough protection for people out there. I applaud the police in Muncie, Indiana for doing the right thing.
No, they did. They did the right thing by their taxpayer, and they took this thing to the mat. And so Mr. Heil decides he's going to take the case to a jury trial. Big mistake, as opposed to taking whatever plea bargain was offered to him. And it took the jury like 4 hours to deliberate before they found him guilty on fraud, attempted theft, forgery, and meth possession. And like you said at the beginning, they sentenced the guy to 10 years in prison.
But here's my question. The homeowner still has this mess to deal with. The homeowner still has this meth junkie walking into his house. The guy also tried to steal tools out of a van sitting on the property when the police were arresting him. Well, the van's on my property. It's not your property, sir. But all of this could have been avoided. It could have been with just doing the right thing with Home Title Lock, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the takeaway here there is that Mr. Heil is not a criminal mastermind, yet he was able to change the title of these good people's homes into his own name. And so if these people had Home Title Lock is going to monitor the status of your home title 24/7. They're going to notify you as soon as anything changes on it. And if God forbid the bad guy is able to get away with this, they're going to pay up to $1 million to restore that home back into your name with the Home Title Lock U.S.-based restoration team.
Right. And let me just share something here that the Delaware County prosecutor Eric Hoffman said during this case, because this is important. You hear me and Tom talk about this, but I want you to hear from the prosecutor who warned homeowners of the dangers of property and mortgage fraud. He called it, quote, the fastest growing white-collar crime in the United States, and said this: unfortunately, it's become all too easy for a criminal to record a fraudulent deed, making it appear as if they own your home. Once this step is complete, they can use your home as collateral on a mortgage or even attempt to sell your home to an unsuspecting buyer, entangling them all. That's from the prosecutor there, Tom. And that should bring it home for folks. Don't become a statistic. Last word to you.
Well, again, imagine a world where Mr. Heil did not, in fact, go to the homeowners and tell them that I'm the new owner. Imagine him at a world where he just sold the house out from under them.
Right.
And the mess that they would have had to have unwound if they didn't have Home Title Lock.
Tom, always good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here and sharing another story of somebody trying to get rich quick by stealing somebody else's home. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Home Title Lock, by the way, giving my audience 25% off up to 2 years in title fraud protection. That's over $100 in savings and peace of mind, plus a free title history report to ensure you're not already a victim. Use my promo code Gruber25 at HometitleLock.com. Get protected today. Don't let you or your home become the next story here, all right? HometitleLock.com, promo code Gruber25. Get protected today. Sleep well tonight. I'll take a break and be right back on Daybreak. Well, the socialist insurgency is showing up in Florida today, I'm told. So a lot going on. Is the DSA, it's primary day in Florida. You know, attention-grabbing left-wing victories by Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, that is, in Minnesota. Senate primaries in Alaska and Florida. In Alaska, they're playing big games. Dan Sullivan is the sitting senator. There's another Dan Sullivan on the ballot to confuse voters. Yep. Let's see. In Florida's 25th district, DSA endorsed Oliver Larkin, challenging the more moderate Democrat Jared Moskowitz. You've got that happening. And then Debbie Wasserman Schultz also being challenged by a far-left candidate. Debbie Wasserman Schultz could find herself on the outs. 11-term congressman, former DNC committee chair, running for re-election in a newly drawn district. Remember, Florida has redistrict. Could swing 4 seats to the Republicans. We'll see. Kind of important if it happens, obviously, in a very contentious midterm election cycle. Very important. We'll see how that plays out. And keep an eye on it, all right? It's that time of year. Back to school is here. Some people going back to school already, some this week and next week. Everyone busy running around, soaking up the last bit of summer fun and sun. Now it's time to find that familiar back-to-school routine. Whether you like it or not, summer is coming to an end. Don't let that get you down. Stay on task by incorporating Patriots Relief CBD into your daily back-to-school routine. Patriots Relief CBD products assist in the internal balance of your body, easing stress, anxiety, ADHD, keeping students focused and stress-free, while parents and grandparents can enjoy watching the next generation flourish and grow while relaxed and pain-free. It's good news. Patriots Relief CBD for a happy body and a sound mind this back-to-school season. Call Tim and his family. 877-230-1776 or visit patriotsrelief.com. Use the promo code Gruber for 40% off and free shipping. 877-230-1776. patriotsrelief.com. Don't forget to use the promo code Gruber at checkout. All right? All right. We'll be right back. This is Daybreak. Well, diving through this week, it is already Tuesday. Can you imagine? Already Tuesday. All right. Niraja Deshpande is the Independent Women Policy Analyst and extensive report contributor at the Independent Women's Forum. J.D. Vance calls for criminal investigation after explosive HHS report. She's joining me now. Niraja, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Glad to see you today. All right, so this HHS report on pediatric gender medicine, and I use that term lightly, gender medicine. What's going on here, and what do we need to know?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically a report showcasing fraud. So there's two types of fraud, right? One, which is that the gender medicine industry for kids is completely morally bankrupt, right? There's no medical evidence behind it. And, it does irreversible, lasting damage to kids that, these are not treatments, these are not surgeries that can be switched around. When you're a 15-year-old girl on testosterone, you're going to have lifelong issues if you're given that dose of testosterone. So that's the first part, the medical fraudulent claims to begin with. And then the second part is just that, they literally made fraudulent claims. So what this report shows is that, these doctors at these clinics for youth gender medicine, as you say, that's a word to use lightly, medicine here. These doctors were often billing completely inaccurate codes. So for instance, if you're an 11-year-old kid and you come in identifying with, gender dysphoria and you're a boy and you say you're a girl, these doctors would say, okay, well, this kid has precocious puberty. So then sure would cover it, which is just blatant, blatant fraud in the most cleanly defined sense of the word. It's not precocious puberty that's causing these people to give this kid a puberty blocker. It's because of this so-called gender identity issue, which is a completely different thing.
We've had detransitioners on this program a number of times now, and they all say the same thing. They say the same thing. I met with a counselor for an hour. I met with a counselor one time, and suddenly they're on these hormones, hormone blockers, and he said, and then it's fast-tracked right to surgery. And these are kids that are 13, 14, 15 years old, some of them. It is criminal. To me, it is absolutely criminal to make irreversible changes to somebody's body when they haven't even reached the age of consent. It's crazy, isn't it?
It's completely insane. I mean, on the one hand, I'm very honored to have, contributed to a report that will hopefully get, this industry shut down in the long term. That'll be part of that with so many other people. On the other hand, I'm thinking, why am I even doing this? Which, I don't mean that in I don't want to be doing this kind of way, but just more this shouldn't be an issue. This is such a no-brainer. Any healthy society would see this as a no-brainer. And I don't want to be doing this, to be perfectly honest. I just think I think it's absurd.
Well, it is absurd. And I think that there's going to come a day. And look, according to my research, and you can weigh in on this, of course, according to my research, the peak of transgenderism happened in 2022-23, and it's been on the decline ever since. Now, there's some ideological fanatics that won't let it go, but it seems to me that it's waning because people on all sides, this is an 80-20 issue. This isn't even a close call. For Democrats, Independents, Republicans, it doesn't matter what your political ideology is, it's not a close call for most people. Is it waning? Is it at least retreating? I mean, I see it retreating in Europe. I see some hospitals in America no longer do these procedures. Are we winning?
Yeah, I think so. I actually think kind of unambiguously, it's the tide is definitely turning. And I think, it's funny because a lot of these, I'm from Massachusetts originally. I'm in DC now, but I'm from Massachusetts. And, I hear all these people in Massachusetts saying, oh, it's the Trump administration doing this. It's the Trump administration doing this. It's well, yeah, but even if the Trump administration weren't, cracking down on these clinics, which first of all is absolutely warranted, at minimum, there's all these lawsuits piling up, which have nothing to do with who's in charge of the country, right? If Joe Biden were in his second term right now, we would still have these lawsuits piling up from detransitioners saying, hey, what was done to me was not acceptable when I was a kid, and I'm suffering from all of these medical, malpractice issues. And, the courts, I think, don't care whether it's a Republican or Democrat in power. They care, maybe this is idealistic, but they care that, they care about the facts of the case, and the facts of the case are very much, I think, tilted toward detransitioners everywhere.
Yeah. So do you think that obviously the left is very skilled at using the courtrooms to push an agenda that would not otherwise pass. But in this particular case, suing these hospitals, suing these doctors and so forth for what they've done here seems to be a winning hand for those that are pushing back against this transgender insanity. Would you agree?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I think this is one place where the left has really, it just doesn't, none of this stands, right? Like it's based on faulty science. It's based on fraudulent insurance claims. It's based on just, a complete and total house of cards and lies upon lies upon lies. And so I just don't think that ultimately can stand, for all the issues our political and legal systems have gone through in the past decade and, if not longer. For all of those issues, I still think we are a sane country fundamentally somewhere in there. And, we are not, a moment of temporary insanity will hopefully be corrected by those safeguards that we do have in place.
You mentioned you're from Massachusetts, right? And there might be more people in Massachusetts that support this than some other states, right? I suggest that if you wanted this to end, get it on the ballot in Massachusetts, because even deep, dark blue states like Massachusetts would throw this out on its ear, I believe. Just let the people weigh in. Last word to you.
Yeah, I think at this point we're just seeing the fallout, unfortunately. It's still, to be clear, while things are turning in a good direction, there are still kids being medically transitioned. There are still kids experiencing this faulty, bad medicine across the country. And so insofar as even one American kid is being harmed, in the name of this ideology, we should still be very, very vigilant, which fortunately the Trump administration is being.
Yeah. Neers, I really appreciate you being here. I think it's insanity defined. And yet some people refuse to admit when they're wrong, and that's sad. Thank you for spending the time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. There you have it. Look, this is waning. And I tell you again, there is one person in your child or grandchild's school that's allowed to be with that child independent of anybody else, one-on-one. Nobody else there. That's the school counselor. You should sign a waiver making it so that's not possible if you have any concerns at all. These people have a lot of influence. You can sign a waiver with your school and make sure that doesn't happen. It's Daybreak. Nice to see you today. I'll be right back. Now, I've got a bunch of people in the chat room here on YouTube and Getter saying, Gruber, do not go to Dearborn. Well, how am I going to report for you? If I just sit here and trust everybody else's eyes and ears and don't go myself. People in there saying, we agree with Ivy. Well, I appreciate that, but the fact of the matter is, in order to understand it, I have to go see it. Apparently, the Michigan State Police, according to some reports, are putting troopers on the ground in Dearborn to keep the peace, and so there you go. It's going to be perfectly safe. It'll be perfectly fine. Ivy is back with me, but she's not pleased with me going there, and apparently some of the people in the chat are not either. Right, Ivy?
Well, listen, this is how I see it. Fox News doesn't send Brett Baer.
Well,
just saying.
He's short.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's short. That's why.
But listen, I'm sure it'll be fine. You're not there to be an agitator. You're there to be an observer.
No, I'm just there to document.
You're there as part of the media, and and you should make sure that everybody knows that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not worried about it.
But I do. I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried about it. But I always worry about you. So
fair enough.
But I do have a couple stories here, Steve. Fraternities apparently at Penn State are getting an upgrade because hazing in this particular college, you get initiated by cutting and packaging cocaine.
Oh.
At Penn State, prosecutors say some pledges were allegedly being initiated by cutting and packaging cocaine. Pennsylvania authorities have now charged 14 people on what they describe as a coordinated and high-profile cocaine trafficking operation connected to 2 Penn State fraternities.
Really?
Yes, Delta Epsilon and Sigma Chi.
Sigma High.
High.
Very high. So
not Chi.
How brilliant is this? You bring in kids that you don't know, pledge them to the fraternity. I'm just following the breadcrumbs here. And say, hey, go ahead, package up this class 1 narcotic for distribution. You're committing felonies by doing that, but that's how you get into the fraternity. And They didn't expect somebody was going to say, hey, I want nothing to do with this. This was booked. They didn't expect somebody to blow the whistle.
I don't know how long this is going on, but one parent was apparently also one of the 14 people of one of the students at one of the fraternities. Coke Dad.
Coke Dad.
But according to the Pennsylvania Attorney General, Dave Sunday, some fraternity pledges were allegedly brought into the operation and made to cut and package cocaine, as I mentioned, of their indoctrination into the fraternity. It's like, congratulations, kid, you survived Rush Week. Here's your pledge pin, and here's your kilo. Go sell it to your friends.
Wow. I guess.
You joke occasionally like, hey, you sell
when in doubt, do drugs.
Well, yeah. Or sell drugs to school kids, which you're completely kidding, but it's actually happening at Penn State.
It's actually happening. John Belushi and Animal House have nothing on the coke-blowing fraternities of Penn State University. Wow. Another black eye for Penn State, which, by the way, closed 7 campuses in the last year because they're hurting financially. Anyhow, maybe they're spending all their money on blow.
It's like, so son, how's your chemistry class? Yeah. Well, Dad, define chemistry.
Breaking Bad at Penn State. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, Lord. It's kind of frightening.
It's just crazy. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, okay, can you imagine coming into college and that's actually what's happening to you? You probably would just completely
Well, you learn about economics, you learn about chemistry, you learn about socializing, you learn about threat assessment. You learn a lot of things, being a drug dealer.
A lot of valuable insight into life.
Lessons.
Let's take a tip, kids. Drugs are bad. Don't do drugs.
Just say no to blow.
That was a good one, Steve.
Yeah, just say no to blow.
What was it? We got to get back to the DARE program.
Yeah, because it was such a success. Just say no.
And just say no.
Thank you, Nancy.
Well, I don't know if you've heard this story, but Tyson Foods is shutting down its Jocelyn, Illinois beef processing plant, putting more than 2,000 employees out of work as America's cattle industry faces one of its tightest supply situations in decades. Tyson says the problem is straightforward. There aren't enough cattle, and the cattle that are available have become extremely expensive. The U.S. cattle herd is now at a 75-year low following years of drought. high
Okay,
feed
so
costs, and ranchers
I've got to weigh in
reducing
on
their
this.
lands.
I've done some research. It's true, we have about the same number of cows now that we had in 1950, and obviously the population is bigger, and the demand for beef is higher in America than it's ever been.
That's
but
right.
the carcass weight in 1950 of the average cow was about 800 pounds, and the carcass weight today is 13 or 1,400 pounds. It's 50% larger. We talked about this yesterday on the program. So you've got less cows, but you've got more beef. Now, I don't know if that beef is good for you because it's growth hormones and different things and growth stimulators and antibiotics, and who knows, God only knows what's in some of this stuff you buy at the store, which is why Ivy and I, we shop at God's grocery store with our hook and line and our bows and arrows and everything else, because I know that the deer are free-range organic red meat. I'm just saying that for ourselves. Free-range organic red meat, which, by the way, the anti-hunters, that makes their heads explode. Why do you kill deer? It's free-range organic red meat, and you see the gears turning, and then the smoke comes out of their ears.
But you're killing Bambi.
But
there is something to be said about field to table.
There
when you
is.
know where your food comes from, or
Or
stream
backyard to table, yeah.
Exactly, and it's just you know you can process it yourself. You know where it comes from. You know how it's handled. But there is something I beef is very, very expensive right now. But I think one of the biggest problems that we have is that we don't have enough processors, and here's another
That's
processor
true.
going out of business.
That's not going to help.
It's not going to help.
No.
And not only that, but if we do have less cows, I mean, according to this story.
Well, even if they're bigger, there are fewer of them, and that's a fair
I wonder
point.
too. We were out west a couple weeks ago, and there's so much land is getting sold. I wonder to some degree if that has something to do with it as well.
Eat your data center. Yeah.
Wow.
Eat the data center. I don't know. Look, we buy from a local producer. He's terrific. Got another one coming here, quarter of a beef coming, I think, in September. Anyhow, Ivy, love you.
I love you too, Steve.
Shop local. Keep it real. All right, time for sports with Brock Paulbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. 11 games in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included Tampa Bay, Detroit, and Kansas City. National League winners included Philadelphia, the Chicago Cubs, and the LA Dodgers. Los Angeles Lakers governor and minority owner Jeannie Buss is contesting the vote by her siblings to sell the remaining 18% of the team to majority owners Josh Kushner and Bob Iger. Jeannie's lawyer said yesterday that no sale can happen without the approval of Jeannie and 2 other siblings. It was reported earlier in the day that the Buss family had agreed to sell the remaining stake in the team to Kushner and Iger, but that's now up in the air. There was just one game in the WNBA last night. Golden State defeated Dallas 78-70. Gabby Williams had 23 points for the Valkyries. And in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts agreed to a 1-year deal with veteran wide receiver Keenan Allen. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Greatly appreciate that. You know, Brock, you might have too much money if you're arguing over who owns the NBA franchise.
Yeah, especially one as valuable as the Los Angeles Lakers, a worldwide brand, as you know.
Yeah, what's it worth?
Oh, it's
billions.
Well, it just sold for what, $12.5 billion?
I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it did.
12.5 billion.
Yep.
Good Lord. When was the last time they won the championship?
The COVID year, 2020.
Right, so that doesn't count.
Well, it's got an asterisk on it. It was played in the bubble in Orlando.
Yeah, that's where I play every day, in the bubble.
Oh, well, that's nice to know.
Well, I thought you'd appreciate the inside baseball. Speaking of baseball, the Tiger's not dead. Tiger's not dead.
No. Fortunate they play in a bad American League this year. Because
Terrible
normally they'd be
American.
about 10 games out.
Yeah, well, better to play in a lousy league and make the playoffs. I'm just saying. Anyhow, thank you,
Still
Brock.
got a chance.
Let's see. All eyes on Dearborn. I keep getting more and more notes from folks. Look, we're going to be all right. We'll be all right. We're just going down to take a look. People are all just freaked out. We'll be fine. State police will be there. Security will be heavy. I don't expect anything big to happen. But I've got to go tell you what it looks like. Apparently a big pig roast happening in Dearborn tonight. And pro-Christian activists, anti-Islamic activists, however you want to look at it. We'll tell you about it from the front row. I'll be back with more Daybreak.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
Welcome to it as we kick off another hour here of Daybreak. Glad to have you on board. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. Three big things this hour. The price of gasoline continues to go up. That's number one, despite the fact that oil has been flat for days now at about $80 to $82. And yet, they keep gouging us on gas. Number two, the NSA said on election threats from foreign governments because they didn't want to be labeled as deep state by Donald Trump. This memo from 2020 released just yesterday. And number three, Dearborn. It's clear this is different. What's happening in Dearborn tonight? Jake Lang, of whom I am not a fan, just to be clear. Not a fan of Jake Lang. For a variety of reasons that I don't need to get into here. But I'm also not a fan of him being attacked in public here a couple of weeks ago. Had to flee to a police car while he was getting punched, stones being thrown at him, and run out because he is a Christian. So tonight, there's going to be this rally at 6 p.m., I'm told. And the Detroit News asked him if he expects violence. He says, does the sun rise in the east? The Muslims are going to freak out on us, he said. Lang, who was part of the January 6th Capitol riots, he served 4 years in prison before being pardoned by President Trump. Yep, 3 arrests came out of that assault on him here recently. Dearborn Police city officials say they hope Lang is instead greeted with silence. For security reasons, city officials have moved the city council meeting to the Henry Ford Centennial Library. As you know, I'm heading down there to see what it looks like, to take a close look at what's happening. It's away from the planned rally site, about a half a mile west of the library. Lang says there'll be a pig roast, obviously an affront to the Muslims who do not eat pork. It's religiously banned. Multiple Dearborn stakeholders pleading with people to refrain from engaging with a self-professed anti-Muslim activist when he makes his scheduled visit Tuesday. Please stay home, said Police Chief Isa Shaheen, which was accompanied by a written message in English and Arabic, urging people to steer clear of this whole confrontation. We'll see what happens. Lang says he's bringing private security. There's also a rumor that bikers from around the country will descend on Dearborn today. I don't know if any of this is true. That's why I have to go look and see what the truth is, and I will certainly let you know. In a tense March 2020 meeting just months before the presidential election, the National Security Agency's deputy director blocked the release of a long-delayed report on foreign targeting of U.S. elections, not because the intelligence was flawed. It wasn't. It was accurate. But because he feared it would brand the agency as part of the deep state. The memo states DDIR explained that he was concerned that releasing the report at this time in the current political climate with an acting ODNI who had been tasked, according to DDIR, to clean house in the intelligence community, and with an administration that is suspicious of the intelligence community and aggressive in removing anyone who stands in their way, would damage NSA's credibility. So the document showed that he perceived the ODNI, the CIA, and to the extent the FBI had been tarred as hosting or being part of the deep state, but that the NSA had been able to avoid that thus far, so he didn't want it to happen. It was released Tuesday, the memo, by the White House Government Transparency Task Force. The memo, part of the evidence reviewed by Barry Zuloff, the intelligence community ombudsman, before he wrote a scathing report published in 2021, alleging spy agencies engaged in the politicization of intelligence on foreign election interference during the 2020 election. Oh, There was interference in the 2020 election? Come on now. From foreign powers and foreign influence? Come on now. Really? The memo dated March 13, 2020, declassified August 12, 2026, by White House counsel David Warrington. Written by one of the analysts who had produced the report, the author repeatedly refers to "we, the analysts," and notes personal frustration that higher-ups had delayed the product for 16 months, while the analytic work itself had been completed in a timely manner. It was proposed for release December 2018. Concerning foreign targeting of U.S. elections that began in 2014, the report also included activity related to the 2016 election. An earlier, more limited version of the reporting had already been published, but the full version was held up for two main reasons, according to the document. It would unavoidably contextually identify members of Congress, even with names removed, which triggered the need for pre-approval under the Gates procedures, and some of the 2016 election details were judged sensational and therefore required a more restricted distribution. According to the document, higher levels, including ODNI, had repeatedly failed to make timely decisions for roughly 16 months. By February 2020, the distribution list had finally been approved. The report was pushed for release pending approval by NSA Director General Paul Nakasone, and then Deputy Director George Barnes objected to releasing it as is at the time. They wanted to put out a watered-down version. They wanted to edit it. You know, it's more proof that the truth is being hidden from you and me every single day. It's appalling. It really is appalling. The truth being kept from you by the intelligence community because they have a political agenda. The FBI, the NSA, the CIA, these should not be political operations, but apparently they are. But how about we end this segment on a high note? Let's go to bite number 9. President Trump honored the life and the work of a lifeguard who, at the age of 16, rescued a 10-year-old from a savage ocean. I mean, you've probably seen the video. We played it here, but if you haven't, it was remarkable. And here's the president in the Oval Office with the man who saved the kid's life.
I think, very importantly, they're going to gain respect for what these people do, having to do with lifeguards and having to do with safety. This was an unbelievable experience. Anybody watching, it's not my world, but I respect that world. I always had, but never maybe so much as I do now. So I thought you bring, to your profession, to what you do and what you do so well, you brought tremendous grace and experience, really tremendous grace, tremendous a feeling that it's so amazing to see this happen, to see it before your eyes. And I don't think any other, I've seen surfs, I've seen rescues before. I've never seen anything quite like this. It's been a great thing for your profession.
It's a remarkable thing. It really is. The 16-year-old lifeguard and his 10-year-old victim, if you will, the kid that he saved, sitting there in the Oval Office as well. What a nice story. Somebody doing the right thing, working their tail off to save somebody else's life. It was a remarkable rescue. You saw the footage there. Thank you, Anthony. I'll be right back. You ever find All right, let's jump right back into it. We're trying to figure out if there's going to be peace in the Middle East. Several Arab countries have accepted. It was a 20-point plan. I believe it's now a 15-point plan to bring peace to Gaza. Israel has rejected the plan outright, from what I understand. The president pushing forward. Jared Kushner leading the negotiations. Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed and then disagreed depending on different points of the plan, but they want an unarmed Hamas. That's it. They want Hamas, taken out of the equation. Rabbi Michael Barclay, the host of the new radio show and podcast, The Rabbi's Table, Dialogue, Not Debate. Join me now. Rabbi, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for everything you do and your audience does to make this a better nation.
Well, we do our best. We fight for it every day. And look, here we are. We've got the Iran war. We've got the ongoing question of Gaza. And at one point, you have agreement, and then you don't have agreement. Same and true in both places. Let's talk about Gaza. Some of the Arab countries reportedly have agreed to a peace plan put forward. Israel has not. What are your thoughts?
Steve, do you remember the old story about the scorpion and the frog?
Oh, of course.
That's what's going on. The scorpion is saying, I won't kill you, just trust me. And so the frog trusts him, and the scorpion does what is to his nature. They were supposed to have disarmed as part of the hostage settlement 2+ years ago. Hamas is committed to the destruction of all, not just of Israel, but of Western civilization. It is a culture that is committed to death. And we can want to make a deal, but it's not going to ultimately get on it, I don't think. And it's sad to say. A lot of what is being proposed now by Kushner, the Peace Council, which is composed mostly of Muslim nations, is pushing very hard to make this happen. Israel's not going to let this happen. They're not going to move out of Gaza until Hamas is entirely demilitarized. And they can say they're going to all day, but it's highly doubtful that they will, especially as long as the Islamic regime is in power in Iran. Part of the proposal now is that it would be led by General Jeffers, an American general, to help disarm Hamas, and then Israel would go out. And one of the things even Kushner said is that this is setting up Hamas. If they break a deal, then they will. The world will see how they are, and America is giving Israel, and will help Israel because he put it complete the mission.
Yeah.
So I'm not real optimistic about any of this. Quite honestly.
You know what? I'm not real optimistic about any of it either, to be honest with you, Rabbi. Look, it's like being optimistic about making a deal with Iran. It lasts about 15 minutes, and then it gets changed. And you're right. And I've been of the opinion that if you took all the weapons away from the folks in those neighborhoods, they'd beat each other to death with sticks and stones. So how do we ever find peace in the Middle East? I mean, this goes back to Abraham, doesn't it?
Well, it really doesn't. People make the analogy to Ishmael and Isaac, and it doesn't. It really goes back to the 7th century with Islam, and an understanding that whereas the Jewish scriptures are about deepening your awareness of your relationship with God through the Torah and through the commandments, and the Christian scriptures are about deepening your relationship with God through an awareness of accepting Christ into your heart. And the Hindu scriptures and the Buddhist scriptures and the Taoist scriptures are all texts about deepening your awareness of your relationship with God. The Quran is not. And that's the piece that Western culture is missing and is so problematic. The Quran and the Hadiths, which are the supportive documents, are really all about creating a worldwide caliphate of Sharia law. It's a business plan for worldwide domination. And I think one of the biggest problems is that we frame Islam right now as it's just a religion like any other religion. And the simple reality is that's not true. this is not about Muslims, about people, and there is some beauty, like the works of Rumi, but and Kabir, but the theology itself is not a theology; it's a business plan. It's not a religion in the same way we view religion.
Well, it's a plan for government. It's a government plan, right? I mean, and I just saw Austria is now allowing Sharia law to be conducted between two parties if both parties agree. Well, once you open that door, it's just another disaster. Look, Sharia law is not compatible with Western civilization, period. It's not. It's not compatible with the United States Constitution. It's not, period. Right?
It's clearly not, and most people don't understand even what Sharia law is. If you understand nothing else about Sharia law, then understand that one of the underlying principles of Sharia law and of the Quran is that if you're an infidel, if you're an infidel, which means anyone who is not an observant Muslim, the way that the extremist defines an observant Muslim, that would be a Jew, a Christian, or even the secular Muslim.
Correct.
Anyone who is like that must be killed, converted, or enslaved. Period.
What a nice series of choices.
Law.
A, B, C, or D, all the above. Rabbi, you can come back anytime. We can continue to talk about this. I'm sadly short of time, but I appreciate the conversation. And look, I'm not very optimistic either. I'd like to be. I'd like to see people lay down their arms, but I think sadly you're right. Hamas is going to fight to the last man standing. I feel the IRGC is going to do the same. But we'll remain hopeful. Rabbi, thank you for being here.
Thank you, and God bless you, Steve.
God bless you. I gotta be honest. I agree with him. Some of these folks are going to fight to the last man. And how can you negotiate? How do you negotiate with somebody who's a religious zealot? I don't know. Tough place to be. We'll take a break and be back. Well, trouble in Alaska, apparently. Trouble in Alaska. Mary Peltola, she was a member of Congress in Alaska for one term because of ranked choice voting. She's a Democrat. Running for the United States Senate against Dan Sullivan. But there are two Dan Sullivans on the ballot. How convenient. They put a second one on there to confuse voters. She got an endorsement from Kamala Harris, which she said, I don't want. She rejected it. But Kamala Harris was raising money for Peltola's Political Action Committee. Associating with Harris in a conservative state that's skeptical of national Democrats wasn't the boost Harris hoped it would be, and Republicans jumped all over it. But she fired, she fired a longtime senior aide to Peltola, changed campaign managers, dismissed two veteran contractors for her campaign. She made a complete reshuffling of the deck because she knows she's going to lose and Dan Sullivan's going to win. And Democrats thinking they can win in Alaska is just silly. It really is silly. And here's something else I mentioned earlier, just on another topic, and that is data centers real quickly. Georgia data centers require more electricity than the state can provide. Georgia Power got permission from the Public Service Commission to substantially expand the volume of electricity the utility creates and sells last year. The reason behind the increased demand was expansion of data centers. Can you do it? Executive Director of the nonprofit organization Science for Georgia sat down with the Georgia Public Broadcasting's Peter Bielo, and he said the range of electricity between 29 gigawatts and 58 gigawatts. A gigawatt is about the output of one nuclear reactor or half of the Hoover Dam. He says, we don't have it. We don't have it. So these data centers, all right, you want to build them. Who's powering them? And at whose expense? I don't know. I'll take a break and be right back after this. Well, the Republicans have been talking about doing a midterm convention. Not something that's normal, but then again, what's normal anymore, right? Politics has changed over my lifetime, become more intense, more direct, more social media driven, things of that nature, right? No question about that. We've got Zach Kraft here, RNC Dallas spokesman, because this event's supposed to happen on the 9th and 10th of September. It's getting close. Zach, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Good to have you here. All right, so tell me, where are we in this event? How many people do you expect? What's the latest?
Absolutely. This is going to be a truly historic event. We expect it to be the largest convention, whether it be presidential, midterm, or otherwise, since 2016, and we're going to have more than 20,000 attendees in Dallas. It's truly going to be a historic event. And the really exciting part is that for the first time in history, we are opening it up for the American people to attend. You know, normally these events are only open to party insiders, donors, delegates, elected officials. But for the first time, President Trump is opening this up for all of the American people to apply at GOPconvention.com. And a select few will be chosen to get VIP front row tickets and be able to watch the entire event just feet from President Trump.
Now, how do you get those?
So like I said, if you go on GOPconvention.com, you know, anyone can apply, and we're giving out a large number of tickets that will be general admission. You know, those people who win will be able to attend the entire event, walk around. It's really going to be, you know, a fantastic event. There will be performers, there will be live, you know, food, entertainment, all of the such and whatnot. And then a select few of that group who win tickets to go will actually be given these VIP tickets where you will be just feet from President Trump. You know, I'm sure your viewers have been to a few Trump rallies. These are great events where they really get the crowd going, and you're going to be up close and personal and get to see President Trump and all the other exciting speakers speak throughout the event.
Well, there you go. All right, so it's the 9th and 10th. 20,000 people. Security, obviously, a concern in 2026, and a lot of threats against the president. But this is going to be a very secure event, and there's a lot that goes into this, isn't there, Zach?
Absolutely. And Secret Service, you know, they're the best in the business, and they're going to make sure this is a secure event, not just for the president, but for all the attendees. But, you know, this is why it's so important that the American people apply and go, is because, you know, there's so much at stake in this midterm here in November. You know, Republicans are offering a common sense path forward to continue having secure borders. We just found out that we saw the largest drop in crime in more than 125 years because of Republicans. You know, I'm sure a lot of your viewers are enjoying no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, but Democrats want to undo all of that. And they don't just want to investigate the president and throw him in jail. You know, they want to reopen the border. They want to bring back, you know, transgender surgeries for kids as young as 5. So that's why, you know, this midterm convention is really going to showcase what Republicans are offering in terms of a common sense path forward and what the Democrats are offering, which is a far left, deranged, radical, and crazy agenda.
All right, so what is the political goal here? Obviously, this is something I'm going to guess. I'm going to take a wild guess here, Zach, that this is something Donald Trump said, hey, let's do something different. Let's try this. And, of course, Texas has a Senate seat that's hotly contested. It's a critical seat. Texas has redistrict, but it also has the ability to raise enthusiasm for Republican voters in a year that the DSA has hijacked the Democrat Party. So what are the political goals here, Zach?
Absolutely. You know, historically, the party in power generally loses seats in the midterm, but President Trump has defied history since he came on the political scene. You go back to 2016, he beat 17 other candidates on stage. 2024, he had a historic comeback. You know, nobody thought he was going to be able to overcome President Biden trying to imprison him. So President Trump is no stranger to defying history. And when he looked at this midterm, he said, what do Republicans have to do to defy history and not just maintain our control of the House and Senate, but grow our majorities in each chamber? He knew we had to throw out the playbook and, you know, do something to really get the American people and President Trump's voters excited. And that's why he decided to do this midterm convention. No party in history has ever done something like this before. And that's why Republicans are in a strong position to defy history, as this event will get our grassroots excited. We're already hearing from grassroots on the ground how much excitement there is, not just about this event, but about understanding what's at stake. As you mentioned, the Democrat Party has been completely taken over by crazies. They've destroyed the Democrat Party, and next on their agenda is to destroy America.
Yeah. So when can people get started on registering? They can do that now, I take it.
Absolutely. You can go on GOPconvention.com right now and apply for tickets. The event will be September 9th and 10th, so you can either apply for September 9th, September 10th, or both days. And on September 4th, we will notify the winners of both the general admission and then also the VIP that will have those front row tickets. And within 24 hours, the winners of those tickets will have to claim their tickets. And from there, they will be on their way to having a front row seat to history.
Do you think that just as a side note, are the big networks going to cover it? They going to ignore it? They're going to try to pretend it's not happening? I mean, I have to ask because the big media machine obviously tries to ignore Donald Trump whenever possible.
You know, the media has tried their best to ignore Donald Trump, but he's the greatest showman in politics. He's the greatest force in American politics in modern history. So, you know, you cannot ignore that. Whenever President Trump speaks, it is must-see TV, and it is a must-see event. So, you know, I can't speak for what the fake news is going to do, but I would encourage every single one of your viewers to try and apply and go to this event. And if they're not able to go, make sure you find a way to tune in, because it's going to be must-see TV. Whenever President Trump speaks, it always is, and this event's going to be no different.
All right, sir. Zach, really appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Of course. So that's the 9th and 10th of September. And honestly, I don't think it's going to get covered. I think the networks are going to try to ignore it because the Democrats didn't do the same thing, and it gives an advantage to Republicans if they have a convention, right? They have a convention, and the Democrats do not. It gives a bit of an upper hand to the Republicans, to Donald Trump. It gives him a platform for 2 full days, right? And so that's going to be a concern for the Democrats. I want to share with you one more thing, a little bit of interesting political fodder. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs, right? Under serious investigation now for fraud and enriching her friends. This is an election year. Could Katie Hobbs be in trouble in Arizona? Listen to this. It is bite number 4.
Is all I'm going to say right now.
Governor Hobbs didn't waste words when she was asked about an alleged pay-to-play scandal under investigation. The Attorney General is looking into whether Hobbs improperly gave a campaign donor a lucrative state contract to care for foster children. Sunshine Residential Homes donated big money to Hobbs and the state Democratic Party and was one of 52 groups to get a pay bump.
That I would not act in the best interests of Arizona's children in foster care. I have always and will always do what is best for Arizonans. There is an AG investigation. I'm not going to comment further except to say that I look forward to the conclusion of the investigation and finding that we acted in the best interest of Arizonans.
The governor also sounded off on a court ruling that she broke the law when she installed leaders to run key state agencies without the state Senate's approval. Hobbs appointed the directors after she struggled to win their confirmation in the upper chamber. The committee in charge of the governor's nominations was run by one of Hobbs's loudest critics, Republican Senator Jake Hoffman.
This is the chaos that was created by Jake Hoffman's sham committee that he's using to inflict his radical political agenda on Arizonans. This is not what Arizonans...
We'll find out. You know, if Republicans pick up governor's seats in places like Arizona, where Andy Biggs, the congressman, good guy, running as the Republican in Arizona, or in Wisconsin, well, that's not going well for the Democrats. Michigan, John James running strong. If they pick up, the Republicans, these seats, governors are very important to presidential elections. Very important. Keep that in mind as you go to the polls this fall. I'll be right back on Daybreak. Ivy should join me after this. right, diving right back in with an encore appearance. Here is Ivy this morning. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Did you tell people that you and I have started My Pure Health?
No, I didn't.
Well, we are starting what we started yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we will share our journey as we go along, but we want a little refresher.
Yep.
So here we go.
Not a hardcore long course, but 20 days or something. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see how we feel about it. The first couple of days, got to get into the rhythm of it. But hey, look, if you do it and you don't cheat, it works. So
it definitely works.
Anyhow, getting ready for the rest of the year, I guess.
Well, it's shedding the weight, so then we hit the holidays. you know,
Shed the
looking
weight,
ahead.
hit the holidays, stub your toe.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
But Steve, I don't know if you saw this story, but the Pentagon has ordered 30 American colleges to audit their foreign financial and research ties.
About time.
Right. I mean, we've talked about this a lot over the years, but think about it. If American taxpayers are paying for cutting-edge research at American universities, should countries like China, Russia, and Iran be able to benefit from it?
No.
But
steal it.
Or steal it.
Just outright steal it.
Yeah, intellectual property rights are really important, and China doesn't really like to abide by those rules, do they?
No. They'll steal anything from anybody anytime that they think it benefits them.
For their own benefit. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But some of the big names, I'm sure you can name some of these, but Harvard, MIT, Georgetown, NYU, Penn State, we talked about them earlier.
Of course.
Clearly they need a little bit more scrutiny. Duke, Cornell, Johns Hopkins, Berkeley, UCLA, and USC.
I like to call those the usual suspects.
The usual suspect.
Yeah.
But the government is demanding to look at your foreign partnerships, look at the money, look at the researchers, look at the research being shared, and determine whether sensitive or expert-controlled American technology may have been exposed.
Look, here's one of the places that I go away from agreeing with Donald Trump. I do not agree with the president in continuing to allow, for example, 600,000 to 700,000 Chinese students into America. And he made the comment, It's been a number of months ago now. Well, if you get rid of the Chinese students, some of these colleges and universities will go out of business. Mm-hmm. And so it is. Bye-bye. Because if your business plan is to rely on foreign money and bring in people that don't like this country, that are going to take everything they learn back to Beijing to use against us, then shut them down. Right. I don't care if there's no football game on Saturday. I don't care if there's no basketball game on Thursday. Shut them down. That's my opinion.
Well, we had Dr. Li Minyan.
That's right.
She's a virologist and worked in China.
That's right.
She was Chinese and moved to America to escape the CCP. And she says that if any Chinese person, they have to say that anything that they learn, if they are called
Well, they have to make that deal before they leave China.
That's
Anything
right.
you learn
is
the property, if you will, of the CCP.
That's right.
Of communist
and that's
China.
What gives you allowance to then leave and come to America to study.
That makes me think of something that occurred to me here over the last couple of days. Mm-hmm. I was watching old footage on YouTube, doing some research on something unrelated, and I came across these people referring to communist China, communist China. We don't refer to it as communist China anymore.
That's true.
We have
watered it down.
We have cleaned up the language, sterilized the language.
Isn't that true in everything these days?
Right. So you make it, it's just China. It's not just China. It is communist China. Mm-hmm. A place that killed 100 million of its own people in the 20th century, give or take a few million, whatever, because it didn't matter. They were pushed into massive holes with bulldozers. Thank you, Chairman Mao. Mm-hmm. The guy that Hassan Piker celebrates.
Right.
The guy that Abdul al-Sayed apparently celebrates because, by extension, Hassan Piker does, and therefore, this is al-Sayed's deal.
Well, it's to me, what I'm hearing from you is that saying the truth matters.
It does.
And words matter.
Yes.
And call everything by its name.
Correct.
Matters.
Yeah.
So, if you talk about, transgender children and the poor children, we don't say, the fact is that it's mutilation of children.
That's right.
when you're talking about removing their penises or sewing up their vaginas, which is what happens, by the way.
Yeah.
So anyhow, continue.
Don't mean to be blunt, but sometimes you got to be blunt.
That's right.
Sometimes
Telling
you just got to tell them how
can
it
be
is.
incredibly uncomfortable, but we are called to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that Americans a lot of the time have shied away from confrontation, even in things like as important as your child's classrooms or, you know,
Anywhere.
do I want to support the teacher? Absolutely. But if the teacher is in the wrong, then it's my responsibility as a parent to make sure. Or even like with children, parents don't want to be parents. They want to be their
They wanna be
buddies with
buddies.
their kids. They don't want any conflict. To give them everything they want. It's like, hey, no, we are called to make sure we are developing our children to be
Well,
good
here's the
citizens,
thing.
to be good people.
Something that you and I have talked about a lot. Distractions. The kids are distracted
why are
by
we
the
so busy?
devices, right? The kids are distracted by the devices, but so am I. So are we. So is the world.
Sure.
Maybe we're not as bad as some. We're probably worse than others, right?
I had a dream a couple nights ago, not to interject there, but
Was I in it?
you were. You're in all my dreams, darling.
Oh, stop.
So my dream was I was contemplating why we're so busy all the time. And I was
All
kind
right.
of angry about it. Like, is this purposeful? Like to be completely distracted in all of life and just to continue on and on and on, never create community. I think I talked about this yesterday, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why are we so busy? Don't we have control of our life?
No.
Hmm.
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't. I mean, honestly, I mean, we do.
Well, our
but
kids, I think our daughter came to us and said, well, this is what the life in which we all live now, right? If we don't have a cell phone, if we don't constantly check emails, if we don't constantly check social media platforms and see what's going on in the world, then we're left behind.
There's truth to that.
Well, who created that?
Well, big tech created that, and then they created algorithms to make sure you remain hooked.
Yeah.
And doom scrolling and going through, and I'm guilty, right? We try to do better. We read now most nights. Put the
Bible,
device away
by the
and
way.
read actual books, which is important. The Bible, actually.
Yes.
Ivy, always a pleasure. Love you.
I love you, Steve.
We'll take a break. I've got some final thoughts after this, probably about Dearborn, just because that's what you want to hear. All right, so all eyes on Dearborn. I don't know what's going to go on down there. I don't. Jake Lang, I'm not a fan. I'll just tell you, I'm not, for a variety of reasons I don't need to get into, and I don't need to be questioned about it. Trust me, I'm right about this. I'm not a fan. But I am a fan of free speech. I am a fan of people being able to gather. I am a fan of people saying, look, I don't like what I'm seeing here. I don't like seeing streets blocked in New York or Chicago. You know, in some places now, you get the call to prayer, what is it, 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m., 5 times a day? Foot washing stations at DFW. By the way, those got canceled at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. They said, yeah, we're not going to do that now. I wonder why. You see, when people find out about these things, they say, no. You going to put holy water for the Catholics there as well so they can bless themselves? No, you're not going to do that. So why would you do the other? The answer is you won't, you shouldn't. It's, as my mother taught me, you bring enough for everybody or you don't bring any at all. And so either you allow all religions to have their religious space at the airport or the library or the high school or wherever, or you don't. Now you can have private meetings after school that are not school associated. But the school's spending money on these things. That's different. If you provide foot baths for one group of people, then you can provide holy water for the other group of people, and kneeling rails for the other group of people, and so on and so forth. I believe in the freedom of religion. I believe in the freedom of speech. I believe that's the end of the show. I believe we're going to call it good for today. At any rate, it's like Ron White. I believe I'll have another. No, we won't. I'll take a time out and I'll tell you all about Dearborn come tomorrow, all right? Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is Daybreak. And remember, only you can save America.